Welcome back to episode 9 of The Mark and the Shark. How you doing, Shark?
Doing pretty good, Mark. How you doing today, man?
Good, man, good. So today we're going to be going over a few things. We're going to start off with Worlds Collide. We're going to talk about Raw. We're also going to talk about some news like Jerry the King Lawler, Andrade getting released, and also another episode of Book Beyond Time. And who do we got for that lineup today, bud?
I believe today we have Miss Chyna versus Rhea Ripley. Will be our bout.
Oh, and that sounds good. So before we waste too much time, let's go ahead and get into it. Welcome back, folks. So, Raw, actually, Worlds Collide was first, so we'll go into that. We'll start off. How did you like the eight-man tag
I was
match?
actually pretty entertained by that. Got to see people again I've never seen before. Really enjoyed the match. It's getting myself more exposed to more of the lucha style. I really enjoyed it. I thought everybody performed well, seeing things I had never seen before. So that was really cool. I had fun with the bout. It was really nice.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I always like Mascarita Sagrada. He's, like I said, he's been in it for a long time. I love Octagon Jr. Octagon's mask is super awesome. And who doesn't like La Parca?
Yeah, he's always been one of my favorites. I've been a La Parca fan since the first time I saw myself, which was back in WCW, back in like the mid '90s, mid late '90s. That was the first time I remember seeing La Parca, and I've always been a fan of his. I love his style. He's great in the ring. He's one of the best out there.
So that brings us on to the number one contenders match for the Reina de Reinas championship, I believe. I could be wrong about that, but Fabi Apache was defeated by Natty. How'd you like that?
I thought it was actually a really good match. Again, I really like Fabi Apache. I've never seen her before, so she was really good in the ring. Natalia, being the veteran that she is, really, really great match. I really liked what I saw.
Oh man, that was a really good match. Natty's so good. So you called it in the Finn Balor and Roxanne Perez versus Lola Vice y Miserijuana. You called it Miserijuana y Lola Vice. They took the victory. Um, you saw the part where Demonito came out the ring and he was like, "I don't want you to get hurt, bud," and pushed him back under.
And then seeing Finn Balor with his puppet and everything, that I'll be honest, I liked it. I really thought that was cool. You added a nice little comical element to the match, but they made it work. That's what I like. It just wasn't doing something for the sake of doing something stupid. There was a point to it, and it was really entertaining. And the more I see Mr. Iguana, I'm really becoming a huge fan of his. And then Lola Vice, again, another talent not familiar with, but again, very impressive in the ring. I'm really liking a lot of the AAA talent that I'm seeing. They're really, it's like I said, the only exposure I really had again was WCW. So really didn't watch a lot of lucha style, but I'm really really digging what I'm seeing. These people are just great.
So Lola Vice is actually an NXT talent.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Um, Oh man, I scrolled right over this. So how'd you like the AAA World Tag Team match with Big G, Grayson Waller, Kofi
I
Kingston, and
found the
Psycho Clown E Pagano?
the whole Big G thing hilarious. They wouldn't refer to Biggie. I really also liked Psycho Clown Pagano again. Two more talents I'm not familiar with. Really entertaining match. I love the whole what's his name having the fear of clowns. I liked how they played that into the match as well. It really worked. And even Conan and JBL on commentary I thought was really good too.
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed seeing them on
And
commentary.
the
It's
reason
really good.
for me, again, not knowing the history of lucha libre, it's really cool having Conan explain the talent, their history, the family's history. It's like not only am I getting to see entertaining matches, I'm being educated about the history of lucha libre as well. I thought we'll talk about it when he gets to that match.
All right, so how did you feel about the Latin American Fatal Four Way match? Man, we got so close to Ethan Page being the double champ before El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. came in and stole the victory.
I thought the perfect person went over in that match. Really high match. I mean, all four of those guys busted their butts in the ring. I mean, again, amazing people to see. Did not disappoint. And again, personally, I think the right person went over in that match.
Yeah, I definitely I liked how they got everyone excited for Ethan Page to be double champ, but the way that El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. did it. I enjoyed it. It made it a fun segment.
Yes, definitely.
And then that brings us on to the main event. That's going to be Dominic Mysterio versus El Hijo del Vikingo.
I can definitely tell that the crowd was really more on Dom's side, which is understandable, given the whole situation that played out in AAA. I really think it was a smart move to put it on Dom, to be honest. It helps elevate him. Well, not that he needs any more elevation, but, it really helps with that heel status, and then you have the whole angle playing out with El Grande Americano being involved in the match. What I really thought was cool is when Conan was going over the history of the frog splash and explaining the significance of the mask in honor of his uncle and everything. I thought that was, again, a really cool thing. The one thing I would have personally loved to have seen, I mean, I know he's a heel. I would have loved to have seen Dom go over clean. I think that kind of personally for me took a little away from the match, not much, but I think Dom is strong enough that he could have went over on his own without any need from either, Judgment Day, um, El Grande Americano. That's just me personally, though. But overall, it was a really superb match.
Yeah, but that was kind of how it was set up to be, though. You know what I mean? Like, because you know, they don't want to make the main event talent in AAA look weak,
Yeah,
So if they win, I mean, we're getting more politic in here. And then that'll bring us on to Monday Night Raw. How'd you like Monday Night Raw? If you were gonna give it 1 of 5.
I'd probably give it about maybe a 3.5, 4 myself. It was a good show. It was, I loved Cena's promo. I thought that was really good. I really felt that maybe there could have been more of a build up somewhat to the match between him and Lesnar. I know the time frame that Lesnar came in. I thought what was really cool was the going back to the early days of OVW, showing that footage, showing the paths that they had come along. I really thought that was a really cool element, and the way Cena's portraying his honesty. I'm afraid of this guy, but he's not going to be afraid to fight him. I love seeing that side of Angle, definitely, or that side of Cena. I really thought it was a really good, fiery promo. It gets me excited for the match this upcoming Saturday. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, then I hate saying this then because I'm the mark over here, but that I was yawning during that. I couldn't wait to get out of it. And then to add on to that, then we got boring bird lady. So, I didn't like Raw that much this week. As far as Bailey helping Lyra Valkyrie out, I don't like where that whole angle with her is going. Um,
Yeah, it was kind of bizarre. It's almost like it's like ping ponging. It's like watching this whole bipolar thing going on. It's just one minute she's excited, running out there, hugging the announcers, hugging the color commentary, and then in back she has that moment after Lyra knocks on the door. Again, it was just a moment. I personally like Bailey myself. Lyra Valkyria, she just doesn't. Again, pretty sure she's a nice woman, just doesn't do much for me. It's just her matches are just eh. I mean, Roxanne Perez to me was the one really doing the work in the ring. I just, again, I'm not a big fan of hers. It's always the people she's working with, at least for me, that have to carry her. So, Roxanne at least pulled out something decent. I'll give Roxanne credit for that, but again, not big into Lyra.
and then we had Penta defeating Kofi Kingston, giving him an old Mexican destroyer. How'd you like that?
That was really cool. It's hopefully, I like Penta. I want to see him get more in there. Hopefully, they'll set up something for him in the future. It's the whole thing being involved with the New Day. We'll see where it goes. But again, I like Penta. Um, I'm happy that he's in WWE. To be perfectly honest, they're using him right. He's a big star, and it's nice to finally see him being used the right way.
Oh, definitely. I agree with you on that one. Um, Man, here comes another snooze fest. Every time CM Punk and AJ Lee talked, I was yawning and yawning, but I really like Seth Rollins and I really like Becky Lynch. I really like them as heels too. So they kept me in the segment. I really enjoyed it.
I don't know. For me, it's just I've never fully bought into Seth myself. He's always just kind of been there for me. He's good in the ring. Um, Becky Lynch, I've always been a fan of hers. I've been big time Bex. She really is impressive. I personally, there's something about this angle that I enjoy. I mean, because it's based on real life heat. You got two guys who there is no legitimate, friendship. They really do hate each other's guts. The point of what I like is that because Becky is involved, it's a perfect way of bringing AJ into the feud. That it's just but when it comes to AJ Lee, eh, you know, it, no offense to Punk or anything, I like Punk, you know, I like the angle, but I've just her mic work for me just doesn't cut it. I guess. No offense. It's just I've never been a fan of AJ Lee on the mic. I'll just be honest.
Yeah, to me, it's kind of like, it's okay to say that opposites attract or whatever, but I mean, if you're coming down to the ring usually and you're walking the walk and you're, got the cult of personality, but this time you're walking out with somebody who's skipping out, like I'm sorry, it just takes me out of it. Yes, opposites do attract and,
Yeah.
things like that in relationships, but as far as my wrestling show goes, if I have somebody who's supposed to be, like Mr. Tough Guy. Why is she skipping around, Um, case in point, Becky Lynch. Case in point, Michelle McCool, when she got with the Undertaker, then she started walking around with pride, with strength, There's no skipping everywhere. But yeah, I'll leave it at that.
I mean, I see why they do it. It's been part of her gimmick. It's what she's known for. So I could see in that situation as to the reason why it is part of her gimmick. It is part of her character. It's part of the package. Whether people like it or not, I'm not a big fan of it, just being honest, but it's part of her.
All right, and that brings us on to El Grande Americano. He ended up beating Dragon Lee, which is good for me. I'm not a big fan of Dragon Lee. Um, Rey Mysterio said that Dragon Lee was the future of Lucha Libre, and that has not panned out for him in the last 2 years since he said it.
Yeah, I don't even know when, to be perfectly honest, I don't even know when Rey Mysterio even made the comment, just truth to be told. To me, it was a decent match, just kind of a time filler.
Definitely. And then we got Stephanie Vaquer defeating Kyrie Sane.
Good short match. I I I have to feel sorry for Kyrie Sane being the one caught up in the middle of all of this and having to be the poor one to job. Um, it's interesting to see where they set up. Again, I really think that there's going to be interference from Asuka heading in. It's just we'll see what happens here. We'll see how all of this plays out. I have a feeling it's probably going to wind up leading maybe a match between the two of them. What is it? September? When is their next what's their next pay-per-view after WrestlePalooza? I imagine that they're probably going to be setting up something. It looks like in that direction of Asuka and Io Sky feuding.
Well, I think Asuka comes out and then Rhea Ripley comes out and neutralizes it so that they can have a fair battle. And then that's going to cause a rift between Io and Rhea, and we can dive back into that feud with maybe even a triple threat with old Asuka coming in. And then that's when we hit our main event with Bronze versus LA Knight and Jimmy Uso.
And then of course the seeds being threaded throughout the week. Of course, that started with last week's situation, the spear, and then of course you have LA Knight talking to Jimmy. Hey, I need a partner. He wouldn't do it. He runs into Jay. They have a few words. Then all of a sudden he decides to tell him, hey, I will do it. So it's that whole, that whole family tension thing that you kind of have. So you kind of have like two situations. Is it going to lead to, a brother versus brother kind of feud? Are we going to be seeing that, like that Bret Owen kind of situation, but in the future with the Usos? Is that something they're potentially setting up there? You have the tension between Jay and LA Knight. That's going to eventually have to boil over and pop off somehow. Then you have what happened at the end of Monday Night Raw. So it's all kind of getting interesting seeing what they're going with all of this. It really is to me.
Yeah, and that was Raw and Worlds Collide, and then that'll bring us on to our next segment. So it looks like either on somewhere around the 11th, it looks like Jerry Lawler had another stroke. It looks like he wasn't taking his medicine as prescribed in the days before. Um, and it looked like he had trouble with his vision. He couldn't even recognize his own house, and he said that he did feel pretty good, that he was doing better. Um, so, just out of the news of this, first I'll gather your thoughts, and then I'll speak a little on Jerry Lawler.
And I'm happy that he is recovering. Strokes are very scary things to have, from what I understand. It's again, it's nice to see you recovered. It's like, King, please take your medicine. We love you. We don't want to see you go out like this, but they're very frightening things. My mother had one when I was a kid, so I know what the end result of strokes are, and they can be frightening. But like I said, hopefully he'll make a full recovery, and it sounds like he is. So I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah, and I would like to, say that Jerry Lawler working with Andy Kaufman really opened up the professional wrestling for more than just professional wrestlers. We see uh, Logan Paul now. Would that have been possible without Andy Kaufman and Jerry Lawler? Um,
Well,
Question mark.
I think so, because in some ways you had the football players who were well known names that were also wrestling. So in some ways there's always kind of been that thread of celebrity pro wrestling always kind of, I guess you could say, crossing paths. I mean, if you really dig into the roots of the history of the sport, you can probably find examples of it, well before Andy Kaufman. One of the things I loved is, I remember when I was a kid, I remember actually watching that segment when I was a child on David Letterman, and it blew my mind knowing what I know now, but back then it was just insane to see this on TV, just how dedicated Andy Kaufman was to it. Just it's to the point that he really. You're right. I really think that he did help change the business. I mean, the recognition that got, especially, that had to set the Memphis territory on fire, because they were getting national recognition. I wouldn't be surprised if people, hey, what's this Memphis thing? I would not be shocked if there were people that drove to Memphis just to see this with their own eyes. Would not be shocking. I mean, back then we wouldn't know. Nowadays, because of the proliferation of the internet, social media, it'd be a different story. But I would not be surprised if it did pique some people's curiosity to wind up going down there to the Coliseum, seeing it live with their own eyes.
They had to, man. And then that brings us on to our next segment. It looks like Andrade got released. From what I've read, and I'll just say, I've seen it multiple different sources from different wrestling websites, news, something about maybe wellness violations. I'm not really going to conspiracy or go into any of that because it hasn't been released. But I will say I really did like Andrade, regardless of whatever was going on with him.
Yeah.
He's always been one of my favorite wrestlers. I mean, he's a generational talent.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, I don't know if he'll wind up going back to AEW. Probably not, given the circumstances of what happened when he was last there. But then again, like I said, who knows? Maybe the WWE, if he gets it together, there may be the door may be open back to him again. Hopefully we'll get to see him again in the future. It'd be nice.
And it looks like when he was released, MJF told him he was going to be in Mexico beating up Mystico in front of his countrymen. And if he wanted to grab a margarita on his way, um, he was welcome. And Andrade retweeted saying, cabron. Um, and uh, MJF said, it's okay, like it's like that. Okay, dog. And then it kind of escalated from there, where he said in Mexico it's mask versus hair. And MJF responds, LOL, no, get over without burning another bridge, then we can discuss having a match at all. And then, they're calling each other,
Yeah,
other
the
words.
back and forth name calling and everything that it usually spirals into this day and age. But I mean, I don't know. That's what I mean. Is this could potentially be setting up something? It is the world of pro wrestling. Who knows? It's just, maybe it could be if he's able to come back to the company again. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but it's not surprising. This is what people do online these days.
Yes, and then to that, Andrade told MJF he would see him soon and to be careful in Mexico. And MJF responded um, by saying he loves Sammy, but he's not him, and to try him, and that he'll boot him off the face of this earth faster than Charlotte booted him out of his house. So Andrade responds by saying he understands that A, he is more dangerous, and B, he left home. And then he tells him good luck in his marriage, I hope, and no one cries cuando de golpe. You know about me, I don't know about you. So that was kind of where it left off at the last time, as of last night at least. And then that will bring us on to our third and final segment. Unless there's anything else you wanted to talk about, brother.
Well, the bit of a WrestlePalooza news coming up this weekend. The situation regarding some of the audience. There are millions of people that could be potentially out of the show because of contracts not being signed with, I believe it's Comcast, and I believe it's the second biggest one behind that is YouTube TV. So there are potentially 20 million viewers that could be locked out of the show. Hopefully not. Hopefully they'll come to some kind of resolution. Right now, it sounds like ESPN is just pushing well, just go ahead and buy it. I don't think that's a good look personally for ESPN or for WWE. I know that situation is out of their hands in regards to that. This is, but it's a situation that it's not a good look for the launch of this new product. Personally, I think from a business standpoint, that's not the way you want to, you have this new platform or access unlimited. This to me is you don't want that kind of look on your launch, especially with a company so big as WWE and their parent company TKO. It's not a great start out the gate, I think.
Well, I mean, regardless of whatever happens, I'm sure it'll be made up in some way, shape, or form. WWE seems to try to at least take care of their audience a little bit. Um, and I don't really have any other news or anything noteworthy other than NXT Homecoming was awesome. You didn't get a chance to see that yet, so maybe we'll see.
Yeah, I caught up. The last I saw was I had finished the women's tag team match was the last thing I had seen, and it was I got to see um DIY taking on Trick Williams and
Carmelo Anthony.
yeah, Carmelo Anthony, and then having it in seeing Miz come on out and interfere in the bout. That was the last match I had actually seen.
Okay, yeah. Well, it was good. There were a lot of good cameos. And then I guess that'll bring us on to our next segment, Booked Beyond Time. Uh, so today we're going to be having Mommy, Rhea Bloody Ripley, facing
The eighth wonder of the
Chyna.
world, China,
I thought she was the ninth wonder of
or
the
ninth,
world.
I believe, eighth or ninth wonder of the world.
All right. And so that'll bring us on to what do you think would happen in the match? We got another rundown. So,
All right, let's go ahead and get into this. Power meets power. Both women step to the center, nose to nose. Neither backs down. They lock up in a test of strength, dead even stalemate, until China forces Rhea back into the corner. Rhea fires back with a stiff forearm, and they exchange heavy strikes. Chyna whips Rhea into the ropes, but Ripley shoulder tackles her down, only for Chyna to kick up and smirk. Highlight: Chyna briefly presses Ripley overhead, but Ripley slips free, showing she won't be dominated so easily.
And in part two of the match, Rhea takes control. Rhea targets Chyna's midsection with knees, stomps, and she's slowing the pace. She nails a snap suplex, then body scissors, and taunts the crowd. This is my house now. And Chyna powers out, but Ripley cuts her off with a missile drop kick and then a lariat. She attempts a riptide early, but Chyna escapes. Rhea locks in the inverted cloverleaf. Chyna roars through the pain and ends up making it to the ropes for a close submission.
Chyna's comeback. Beating off the crowd, Chyna fires back with clotheslines, a power slam, and her handspring back elbow. She powerbombs Ripley for a near fall. Ripley rolls out, but Chyna follows, smashing her into the barricade. Back inside, Chyna goes for the pedigree, but Ripley quickly counters. Chyna lands a full gorilla press slam, sending the crowd into "this is awesome" chants.
And then in the last part of the match, both women are staggering. They're trading haymakers. Ripley ducks, headbutts, and plants Chyna with the riptide, but Chyna kicks out at two. Furious, Rhea slaps on the prism lock and grapevines the leg. Chyna claws for the ropes but can't make it and taps out after a long struggle. The result, Rhea Ripley wins via submission. Post match, Rhea nods in respect as Chyna glares back, leaving fans debating who the real winner was.
That'd be an amazing match to see right there. Two of the greats. I'd love to be able to see a match like that. That would have been something awesome and really special to see Rhea Ripley and Chyna. But again, like for as good as Chyna was, no offense, Rhea Ripley is 10 times better in my opinion.
Yeah, and with all the legends and stuff coming back nowadays, I mean, it just begs to wonder, if China were still with
Yeah,
us, would this be a match that we could have gotten,
a what
or
if
maybe maybe a tag team match we could have gotten?
potentially. Who knows? It would have been, again, a what if. It would have been great to see though.
Tiffy and Trish versus China and Rhea.
That'd be a good match right there. I'd even love to have seen a Gail Kim versus a Tiffany Stratton. I think that would have been a good match as well too.
Man, well, and that makes episode 9. Thanks everybody for watching. Please like, subscribe,
All
leave a
right.
comment.
All right, folks, you all have a good one. Shark out.